start today with Kim Lindenfeld. I don't know how many of you zoomed into our Wednesday meeting. Kim is going to give us some information about a water-specific volunteer opportunity. And then Teri MacArthur, who started the chapter, is going to take over for the rest of the day. You have tables because you're going to be doing chemistry experiments. Okay, so, and it's fun. It is so fun to do these chemistry experiments. So if you need to have more room to move out, to spread out or something, there are a few empty chairs. So keep that in mind when we get to that part, okay? So Kim.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. I was in last year's intern class and I was sitting there wondering, where am I going to plug in? How am I going to get my volunteer hours? Are you doing that same thing? So early on at one of my training classes, I heard Scott Ball present about Friends of Lake Livingston, and I was like, oh, I can get involved in that. It's a great collaborative way to get involved and meet people from another chapter of Texas Master Naturalists and your fellow members. So there are a couple opportunities coming up really soon to volunteer. And I just want to go through this quickly because I'm not the main feature. But Lake Livingston is a reservoir that was created with a dam, and there are challenges with dam creation reservoirs in that they're supposed to have only like 100-year lifespan, and it's more than 50 years old. There is a national organization called Friends of Reservoirs that helps support and say, what can you do to extend the life of your reservoirs? Some of the challenges are that they get silty, there's not enough fish habitat, the water quality declines, the macroinvertebrates decline. So Friends of Lake Livingston has a project where they plant beneficial water plants in conjunction with a lot of different organizations. And so you can see them up there. This is the only project that I know of where two Master Naturalist chapters work together, plus lots of other people like the Trinity River Authority, Texas Parks and Wildlife. One of the coolest things is that there are high school students that come to these specified planting days. So the high school ag students from local school districts in the Livingston area are coming and planting, and our volunteers are the ones that are supervising and working with these high school students on the planting days. The other neat thing is that the plants are propagated and grown at one of the Texas Criminal Justice Units, the Ellis Unit. And so it's a real collaboration. So some of the Friends of Lake Livingston people, Scott Ball, who I know Teri knows, is really kind of one of the organizers. He and Scooter Langley go into the prison, work with the prisoners who are very proud to be propagating these water willows and other plants that are used to improve and extend the life of Lake Livingston. So there's a picture of them there and propagating the plants. So if you're into plants, you might say, well, what kind of plants are being used? The American water willow is the first one that was started, and it's got several great qualities to it. It grows easily, it's good for the water, and it has established itself at several of the planting sites that Friends of Lake Livingston have done. And then there have been other plants that have been added. So it's a mix of plants that are being used now. And the idea is to start these founder colonies that are along certain shorelines. So there's different areas that are selected. This planting time that's coming up will be in the Waterwood area. That's between Huntsville and Livingston off of Highway 190. And this could be you. There are two planting dates that are coming up. There's a Thursday, April 27th, and a Wednesday, May 3rd. So there's a couple different school districts on each of those dates that are coming. I'm going to send around this handy sign-up sheet. And I see some of you are writing down the information, but I'm gonna go ahead and start it here, and you can send it around, and I'll get it when it comes to the end of it. So if you're interested in volunteering, it starts at 7:30 in the morning. Typically, the high school students are getting there. If you want to get in the water with the high school students, water boots are provided and life vests. And if you're on the list, you'll get an email asking you what your shoe size is, and you'll get the specifics. But it's at the Waterwood Marina. You can Google it, and I've got a little pin for the actual location. So look at the sign-up sheet. Even if you can't come to one of those dates and you're interested in more information, go ahead and put your name on the sheet. There's a little check mark that says what dates you can volunteer. Just leave those dates blank if you want more information, but you're not available for this time. And while I'm here, Carolyn, your wonderful trainer, my last year's president, she has recruited me and Shelley and Lisa to be on next year's training committee. We are looking for additional people that can do things like set up the meetings. It's a great way to get your volunteer hours next year. And we're meeting, and you get volunteer hours this year if you're learning how to do training for next year.
Yes.
So tell Carolyn if you're
Email
interested in
me.
doing that.
Yes.
One thing we want
Yeah.
to be sure, nobody trying to place Carol. And one person, we wanted to be able to spread it out.
Yeah,
So amongst a number of people, because I could not come every Saturday like she
Right.
does. So we really want a like band of people.
and we're having our next meeting of the training committee Tuesday at 12:30 at Mia's table
Yes.
on 45.
A working lunch.
And even
Mostly
if you
lunch.
can't go to that, but you still want to do it, we're not only are we having to replace Carolyn, we're having to replace Bobby. And so we're looking for mentors. So that's maybe a smaller job. If you would be willing to mentor maybe 10 people in next year's training class, let Carolyn know that too. Right, Bobby? You've been mentoring everybody for at least 2 years. So we're going to divide Bobby's job into sets of 10 also. That's sending some emails and some text reminders. So that's a smaller job that, many of you would do. That's volunteer hours too.
Yeah.
So many ways to volunteer. Okay, I'm done, and now it's Teri's turn.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I hadn't realized that I hadn't shared the screen for people at home, but they
Oh.
got the important part,
Okay.
which is your email address and
Okay.
your phone number.
Okay,
So,
right.
okay, let's see. And I will be able to stop this share. And there we go. Let's find Teri's. I have to say what I'm doing. It's one of those things from training people all for years and years on how to use the computer.
Yeah.
I'm so used to, my kids are like,
It's never about one thing. I mean, water's about everything. So, thank you. How do I use this?
just aim and shoot.
Okay, it's easy for you to say.
Point and shoot.
So I thought I'd talk to you about, so here today, I'm the Woodlands Township. I'm also a Heartwood member. Most of you already know that. I've been here since we started it. I started my master naturalist career in the chapter in Houston because this one didn't exist yet. I don't know, I guess we were a couple of years in, and one day a bunch of us were sitting around and realized we took a head count. There were 27 of us in the Houston chapter driving down to Memorial Park. And 27 of us either lived right bumped up against the county line in Harris County or lived in Montgomery County and decided, okay, enough's enough. So we got together Yeah, I did draw the short straw, and so I had to sacrifice and go to Bamberger Ranch and spend the weekend for training on how to start the chapter to make sure everything worked right. And so the steering committee was 10 or 11 folks. It's been long enough ago, the old brain can't remember. It was either 10 or 11 of us. And we decided what we'd do is we'd all chip in a little bit of money and we'd start the bank account so that we could pay filing fees with the state and things like that, because we didn't want to just be a Texas corporation. We wanted to be a nonprofit. This was before the state decided to do blanket stuff. So we had a lot of paperwork to do. The funny side of that story is a couple of years ago, when we had new chapter board members who wanted to become check signers, it turned out that I owned the chapter's bank account because I had been the one who owned it. Carolyn and I and a couple others we spent an hour and a half at the bank a couple of weeks ago, so that I'm finally not the owner of the account anymore. I mean, you know, at this age, anything could happen, and I don't think I named a beneficiary in case I died. So.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
From a Yankee, where's Bamberger Ranch?
It's up in sort of northern central Texas, northern hill country part. If you should look up Bamberger Ranch, they call the name of the ranch Sela, and David Bamberger. I think it's around 5,500 acres. When he got it, it was so degraded that he made it his goal in life to restore it to some natural areas. Yes, he still raises oryx and a couple of other invasives on there, but with good intent. Like the oryx had gone pretty much extinct in their native part of India. And so because our climate is similar, at least was, to where they came from, they raised them and shipped them over to repopulate. So it's very easy. They've got a bee cave there. They've got a bat cave there. Yeah, it's a fantastic place.
If you get a chance to look it up on YouTube, look up that, it's SELAH. There's a video on YouTube about what he has done.
And there's a book.
And by planting native plants, a completely dry landscape developed 10 springs. Just from planting native grasses.
Getting rid of those salt cedars that suck up all the water and transpire it into the atmosphere.
At least they have an Instagram too, where they like post their updates of what they're doing now.
Yeah. So it's anyhow, totally off topic. So coming back to water. So water's never about one thing. It is truly about everything. So I thought today we'd talk about some of the ways that you could get involved in water, learn a little bit about water, and maybe get some of your volunteer hours related to water stuff. So one of the things that you'll see over on the table is this sheet about the Parks and Wildlife program called Texas Water Specialists. How many of you in the room are already Texas Water Specialists? Lisa, aren't you already water specialist?
Not yet.
Oh. Well, okay, I thought more of you were. Terrific program. It's based on the Texas Water's curriculum. If you picked up a copy, hang on to it. I do have some more. As I said earlier, I didn't know how many people would show up, so I just brought a box. But if you didn't get one, if you'll come to my office, I have a few more. And I've asked the Parks and Wildlife woman to send me another case of them, so I have more. So it's a simple program, but it's really great. Spend 8 hours training on water based on what's in the curriculum. Well, guess what? In chapter 9 of your big book. I think it's chapter 9. A lot of the same information is in there. I suspect some of the same authors may have contributed to what's in your big book. Then there's another book that Parks and Wildlife puts out called Texas Aquatic Science. TPWD will send me the Texas water books free, so I can give them to you. These they don't give me free. They cost like $35. Sometimes they're on back order. You can't download it as a PDF like you can Texas Waters, but you can read it online. So if you just Google Texas Aquatic Science, it's Rudolph Rose's book. You'll be able to find it online. So between these two, what I do is base both in-person and online classes on the material. I don't have an in-person water lab every month, but I try to have them several times a year. And I'm going to get to kids here in a minute and how that plays in. But every month, usually with the exception of December and depending when in November it falls, on the fourth Monday of every month from 3:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon, I do a 2-hour online class based on one of the other publications. Right now, that online class, we're working on Texas Aquatic Science because we just finished the Texas Waters book in December. So we've transitioned to this. If you're interested in knowing more, here's what you can do. I put some information about the water specialist certification over here. This flyer has some of the next in-person dates. It also reminds you when the online classes are, and it has a handy QR code. If you sign up and say, I want to be a Texas water specialist, then every time I've got a class of some kind coming up, you get dinged and reminded. So if you're interested, take one of those. I keep forgetting to move this. Okay, so I've discovered.
Let's pull that up and out of the way. Okay, better?
Fine for me. I've discovered that a lot of high schoolers who these days have volunteer service requirements, they never seem to find the kinds of volunteer service that, I don't know, it's my opinion, would be really good for them to involve them in environmental issues. So this same program, if you're not 18, it is like jumping through multiple hoops to get signed up with Parks and Wildlife as a volunteer. They make it as difficult as possible. So I got with Melissa Feldy, the program director at Parks and Wildlife, and I said, here's what I'm doing. And she said, okay, 2 things. She has allowed me to create my own reporting system for anyone who's under age 18. So when they come to classes, online, in person, or volunteer with me on water stuff, they report their hours directly to me. And the certificate that you get, she sent me the template for. And so for kids under 18, I give them the exact same certificate she gives you if you get certified. And there's also this little logo up here on this sheet. It's a nice little pin about this big. That's a blue heron. She also sent me a supply of those so that the kids get the actual pin. And the other thing she agreed was because she saw that I was actually following their program that they really want followed. If you go online to this website, Texas Water Specialist website, it lists a whole list of pre-approved organizations you can get hours with, but you can only get 4 hours with any of those organizations. The requirement to get certified is 8. but she lets you get all 8 with me. So right here is a prepackaged program. All you have to do is show up and pay attention, and you can get a nice certificate with Parks and Wildlife, but it's especially great for those teens who are in high school because they can put it on their college application resume that they are a certified Texas waters specialist. And most of them do volunteer at least several times with me to make sure they also have some volunteering history on their resume related to the certification that they got. Of course, it mostly attracts high schoolers who are interested in environmental science studies at college, which is, I think, wonderful. So you may occasionally, if you come to stuff with me, you may occasionally see that half the audience is kids. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for us to interact with kids, but I think it's great for kids to interact with adults who are interested in the same topic. I see a lot of conversation go on between all the audience members when we're doing this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a way for you to become a de facto mentor for someone who is interested in learning more about the environment while they're still in high school. So this is in your notes, huh?
Does today count?
Today count as what?
24 hours.
Absolutely. Except, so Carolyn, how can we get Melissa to set it up so that today's class, they can report as class time, but they can also tick the box for water specialist training?
I can have her add the class.
Well, but most of the time, to get it to count for that, you have to use the AT Texas Water Specialist. So
Oh, but this is initial training.
I know,
Yeah.
so we need to figure out, get with Melissa and let her know we may have some folks who would like for it to count for water specialist training.
Yeah, maybe that's a minimum age for the volunteer, for the teenagers.
So the short answer is, for this program, grades 9 through 12, it's not my age, it's my grade. Although I do have a couple of 8th graders in the class, so. But to volunteer with me, I have no minimum age. I have to have a waiver with a parent signature, and I prefer if they're under 16 that the parent accompany them when they do things. But I have a lot of families who volunteer with me doing water stuff, so their kids get the volunteer hours, even though most of them are scouts, like, you know, they're trying to get patches or badges or something.
So, what you might consider is if you look up, you're gonna get 40 hours just for attending classes. Remember, we built in, there's like 56 hours of class time. So it looks like you're getting your 40, and it's gonna go through that way. And you're gonna have extra time, then switch this class to AT Texas Waters.
If you want to.
If you want.
If you want to go that route.
Okay?
So here's what I have to say to you about getting involved in water. I mean, because it's so basic to everything you're learning about in these classes and everything you'll be volunteering with over time. I mean, you can't ignore water no matter what the topic is. What happens is you come here today and we talk about water and you learn something that you think is interesting. The minute you get home, you're going to say, honey, guess what I learned today? Well, or you're going to say to your neighbor, hey, I was in a class yesterday and I heard every conversation you have with someone else that helps them learn more about water and how we can better serve water because of how well it serves us. Every conversation you have spreads that knowledge a little bit further and a little bit further. I think about when I was young, there was a commercial on television, I think it was for shampoo, and they said, tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and the number just grows. Well, it's like that. I mean, if you learn something, I don't care what the topic is, but for my purposes, you learn something about water, tell two people and ask them to tell two of their friends. Let's start more conversations about water. So here in the township, we have a couple of waterways that are frequently on what's called the 303D list of Texas Commission on Environmental Quality as impaired. And the impairment is high bacteria levels. Panther Branch and Bear Branch are fairly frequently listed as impaired for contact recreation. That means you should not contact the water. It's a health hazard because of the high bacteria level in it. It's mostly after a big rainfall has washed all the dog poop left on the ground into the water, because when they analyze the bacteria, approximately 76% originates in dog poop. So, guys, that's a 100% solvable problem. Pick up the dog poop and put it in the trash. Don't leave it on the ground. There are folks in the township, I'm sad, but it's very sad to say, you walk down the pathway and they have taken the time, had a bag, picked up the dog poop, tied it up in a bag, and hung it on a tree branch, waiting for the dog poop fairy to come and collect it. She doesn't exist. So the other problem we have, TCEQ lists all of our waterways as of concern for fish habitat because of low dissolved oxygen. Today, it looks like we're gonna be okay to go out and get some water sample. We're gonna walk over to the waterway that's right here. It's not actually Spring Creek, but we'll figure out someplace we can drop a bucket in and get some water. And we're gonna test that water for dissolved oxygen. And there are a number of problems that cause low dissolved oxygen, and we'll talk about them as we do the tests later. You know, we're volunteers. We don't get the big thousands of dollars probe that you just drop in there and here's a little screen that tells you all this stuff. We'll be using chemicals today to test for dissolved oxygen, but it'll be fun. Carolyn loves this shit. So the whole point of this is that there are ways that we can learn more about water and then teach more about water and help more people who live within our circles of influence learn a couple of things. Number one is what they're doing that contributes to poor water quality, and they could change so that we can improve our water quality. And the other thing is they can help spread the word. They can expand our capacity to reach more people. So you can read all these notes. I gave you the slides on a sheet of paper there. To help with raising awareness, what I did was I went to the MUDs, municipal utility districts that operate in the township. There are 11 of them. And I said, you know, we've got to get a handle on this water quality issue. What if you guys buy drain markers for stormwater drain inlets and buy the adhesive that goes with it? And I'll recruit volunteers from folks who want to get their water specialist certification. And the way you certify every year is doing volunteer work. In my opinion, it's a problem with the program. You never have to do training again. after the first year, the first 8 hours, you never have to do training again. I wish that would change. But to recertify again and again, you do 10 hours of volunteer service in a calendar year. So I said, I'll get folks who were trying to get recertified. I'll recruit them as volunteers and we will put down storm drain inlet markers to help remind people that everything that goes in that storm drain ends up in a waterway. And every one of them bought into it. So we have 14,000 drains to mark. That's all. And we just topped 6,000. We got knocked down by COVID. I mean, it became problematic to have big groups working out. But I've had 3 scouts, 2 Boy Scouts and a Girl Scout do their Eagle and Gold Award projects, putting down drain markers. Each of those events, they put down more than 60 drain markers in a neighborhood.
How many has Jeff put down?
Jeff has put down 551 and his goal is to put down 1,000. He came to me, if you know Jeff from the last class,
He was in
you'll
our last
understand.
Yes.
He was at classes overachiever.
Yeah.
And he came by the office one day and he said, Teri, what's the most storm drain markers any one person has put down? I said, it was around 250. And he said, I'm gonna do 1,000. And he's at 551. Go Jeff. So there's some little slips over there. If you think you would be interested in that, take one of these little slips. This QR code is a 3-minute video that shows you how the markers are installed. And then if you decide you want to get involved in that program, this QR code signs you up that says, I want to be a stormwater pollution prevention volunteer.
And that's right here?
Where?
In the Yes.
So here's the thing, I do this for my work. I'm employed by the township. They expect me to work in the township. So yes, all of my projects are within the township. But Creekside Park is part of it. So if you live down in the Harris County part of the township, yes, you're fine to do stuff down here. As a matter of fact, right now Jeff is working a big neighborhood here in Creekside Park to put down drain markers.
No, you don't have to live in the Woodlands to volunteer.
You do not, but you just have to come to the Woodlands to volunteer.
So if you want to get hours and have it be quick and easy, this is really fun. I did it in my neighborhood. The little kids were following me around. Culvert to culvert, checking it out. It's fun. Those little kids still love it. They know about that.
So I also partner with Keep Texas Beautiful. Our department, Environmental Services, is the Keep the Woodlands Beautiful affiliate of Keep Texas Beautiful. 2 years ago, we helped pilot their new litter database program. They want to get a handle on what gets littered where, so they can do some better, more targeted messaging to help with litter problems. And in case you think the Woodlands doesn't have a litter problem, we employ 13 people whose only job is to pick up litter on the sides of the road. Okay, what's wrong with this picture?
There's not enough people.
Well, what happens is volunteers will be out doing water stuff and they'll be picking up litter, and I'm coming to that here in a second. And the residents will say, why are you doing that? We pay taxes. Somebody will come and pick up after us. Those words, someone will come and pick that up after us. Same thing with,
It's the trash there.
same thing with dog food. Why would I bother to pick that up and carry it home? We pay taxes, people come and pick that up.
Where'd they get that idea?
You don't really want to hear what I have to say about where they get that idea. Well, yeah, your mother doesn't live or work here. So through KTV so we piloted the program to do not just litter pickups, but litter audits. And so for those audits, typically we get our gear together and we spend no more than 45 minutes. Usually it's about a half hour picking up litter at a location, bring it back. In this bin, I have some of those big blue tarps. And when we bring back all these bags of litter, we weigh them all so we know what the weight of litter we collected that day was. Dump it all out on the blue tarp, sort it, and count it. This is the form. It's got all these categories, major categories, plus all these finer choices. And we audit the litter we pick up. On average, however long we spend picking up, it takes about 3 times that long to audit, sometimes a little bit longer. We just did this. It's fast becoming a popular thing for some of the corporations that operate in and around the township when they want their employees to have a volunteer day. They pay their employees to volunteer for the day. And so this is becoming a popular program. So on Thursday, I had 10 volunteers from McKesson. We went to Ridgewood Park. We picked up trash for 30 minutes. Now, we only picked up 10 pounds of litter, but think about what litter usually is. Mostly stuff like styrofoam and paper cups and plastic water bottles. It doesn't weigh a lot, but it was 9 bags that weighed a total of 10 pounds. And we spent 2 hours sorting and counting litter. It's a funny thing. Every time I do this, every single time I do this with a group, we find one shoe. One shoe. No. One time we found one shoe and one shoe sole, but they were different. So it's from 2 different shoes. Anyway, I just brought a few of these sheets. If you're curious, you can take a look to see what some of the categories are. But it's a great way to volunteer because the whole point is keeping litter out of the water. I mean, all those pollutants, contaminants, you know as well as I do, that a lot of that litter is plastic water bottles and other plastic containers. And when plastic gets heated, it releases dioxins, which fall back to earth in water, on land. Or if they're in the water, those dioxins end up in there. If you've lived in this area long, you know that you can't eat any of the seafood out of the north part of Galveston Bay because of contamination. And over the past 15 years or so, that pollution level has migrated further and further out of the bay up into the tributaries. I think it was early 90s in Clear Lake. TCEQ said, if you're pregnant or ever hope to be, don't eat fish out of Clear Lake. Well, sadly, in our waterways here, I see people fishing and taking the fish home. So here's what some of the volunteers have done. They attended classes. So here's what we're going to do today. This was a test for dissolved oxygen. We were learning about some of our local fish, so you can see the replica fish. We were making fish prints. Here's a different group that's doing dissolved oxygen testing. I brought buckets and a turbidity tube. If we get in a position where the access to water is good enough, we can try out the turbidity tube too. These folks, here's the onion bags that KTV sends us. It's a great idea, really, for us to use those mesh bags, because if we're picking up stuff near or in the water can drain out. Here's doing one of the litter sorts. This is a young woman who interned with our department last summer. And so at one of the water labs, she used my EnviroScape and taught this group of, there were adults there, but a lot of these pictures you see, it's the kids that are really directly involved and want to do the hands-on stuff, which is, to me, terrific. So I brought some vests while we're out today. We can wear, a couple of us can wear vests that identify us as township volunteers. So it gives us a little credibility when we're out there putting down storm drain markers. Let's see if I can show you. Jeff. Yes.
On those audit sheets you do you report that back to the township or to Texas Parks and Wildlife?
So I collate all the data. I keep a copy, and then I go into Keep Texas Beautiful's website and I report it into KTV in their Texas litter database. Yeah. I would pass these around. I don't know how many of you are interested. So here they are. Have one if you want. So there's Jeff. That was marker number 1. And now he's at 551. Here's a group of students that it's from a high school club, Enviro club at a high school. The other aspect of that, some of you may have picked up, besides putting down the drain markers, typically after we put the markers down, we go back through the neighborhood and put these on doors so that even if someone in the neighborhood doesn't actually notice there's a marker on the drain, we tell them there's markers on your drains, but we tell them there's more than one problem that we need to deal with. Pet waste, yard waste, and lawn chemicals. All 3 of those are impacting our waterways. The pet waste is the source of the bacteria, but lawn waste and lawn chemicals are doing us in on the DO levels for fish habitat. So it's great information. So these guys had just put down drain markers. They went back through. This is a little private school that's literally at the end of the street where my office is. Their grades K through 5. And I work with them a lot. I mean, everything I do with them, we do as an outdoor activity, learning about trees or bugs or something. And so we did a workshop one day with the kids on water. Oh my gosh, when I said, you know, there are some adults who helped me put down the markers on storm drain, and the kids like, wait, we want to do that. We want to do that. So they got the gear. The teachers took them out. They put down about a dozen markers in the neighborhood near where one of the kids lived. Had a great time. This is a little bit of a view of the kinds of stuff when we take the manhole cover off the top of a storm drain. This is the kind of stuff that's in there. In our department, we also have a division that is charged with monitoring mosquitoes. So we trap and test mosquitoes for West Nile. So we report into dishes if we have any positives. And if we have positives, Montgomery County, not the township, but Montgomery County will go spray in the neighborhood where we turned up a positive mosquito. So sometimes when someone calls up and says, mosquitoes are just swarming all over the place, you know, do we have permission to come and do a site visit at your home? Yes. So they go out, and if there's a storm drain, they take the top off to see if there's something in there that might be holding water for mosquitoes to breed. And this is what you say. Another thing I brought you today, I don't know if anybody noticed. Sometimes, especially younger kids, came apart. Especially younger kids will say, well, I want to volunteer. So I order these dispensers for pet waste bags, and they say bag it in and trash it. So does the carabiner. And then here's this information card, and it's only about pet waste. Township has 5 dog parks, so especially for like young scouts. And this group of little Daisy Girl Scouts, they were so cute. They wanted a volunteer project. I said, why don't I give you a bag of these? You guys go to a dog park, spend at least an hour, maybe 2, and everybody who comes up with their dog say, may I give you one of these for your dog's leash? They gave away like 50 of the darn things. I mean, who could say no to that?
They say no to me all the time.
So here's what I say when I ask someone, may I give you one of these for your dog's leash? It's handy. You can refill it with a new roll of bags, hangs right on the handle of the dog's leash. It's got a great carabiner, so you can put like a plastic grocery bag right there with it. As you use the bags, pick up the dog's poop, tie it up, drop it into the grocery bag. It's on the handle of the leash. The dog carries his own poop home. All you have to do is throw it away. I can't tell you how many people say, gosh, I never thought of that. So I brought a bin of these if you want to take a few. If you know someone who has a dog, if you have a dog, I'll put the one that came back together, jumbled around in there. But that's a great project for younger kids to do. Mom goes with them, takes a lawn chair, they go hang out at the dog park for an hour. So, other things I brought you today that I take to places and give away to help people think about when we do the Enviroscape thing and kids make it rain, and I use Kool-Aid, so all these different colored Kool-Aids go together on this plastic landscape of here's fertilizer, here's cow poop, here's all these things, and it ends up in the waterway. They never connect the fact that it's made so it ends up in the waterway. But that stuff, all those different colors of Kool-Aid mixed together into this ugly green, black color water. And I tell them, and we drink this water. It's like, what? Is this water gonna be, is our water gonna be safe to drink with all these pollutants and contaminants in it? And they say, no. I say, yes, because it's gonna be well treated. It gets treated at least twice. When you turn on your faucet, that water is perfectly safe to drink. But here's the problem. It's expensive. To treat for all those pollutants, contaminants, it's expensive to treat water. So besides helping resolve some of that water quality issues, could we maybe think of ways to use a little less of that expensive water, not waste so much? You ask 5th graders, what could I do to save water in my house? Number 1 answer?
Don't flush it. Take shorter showers. Don't flush. Switch off.
Turn off the water while you brush your teeth. That's what they, I mean, they say it in unison. Turn off the water while you brush your teeth. You know, some of these things, take shorter showers, turn on the water while you brush your teeth, things like that. We've said them to the point where they're such cliches, we don't even hear them anymore. We say them, but we don't even hear them anymore. So sometimes you have to remind people why we say them. And I tell them, yeah, if you turn on the water and let it run for the probably 2 minutes you're supposed to be brushing your teeth, you've lost about 4 gallons of water. And here's the problem. In Montgomery County, we get, especially in the woodlands, we get half of our drinking water from Lake Conroe and half of our drinking water from groundwater. They pump them up, blend them together. It's a whole process. They have to harden the surface water for it to blend with the groundwater, and then they soften the blended water so that it's not so hard to pump into your house.
Still hard.
I don't know about you, but at my house, the third week of every month, suddenly for about 2 or 3 days, my water is so soft. You know, I use like a quarter size thing of shampoo to shampoo my hair, and I pump up the quarter size thing and put it in my hand. But it's only 2 or 3 days that the water is extra soft. I don't know, maybe it's the first day they blend it or something. I don't know,
I
but
know, it's all the time. It's my shower stalls, you know, you get it.
yeah, but you're saying hard. I'm saying it's soft. Anyway, so I remind them that we get in our water from groundwater and from Lake Conroe. And the problem is, that's not where the water that goes down the drain goes back to. So we let 4 gallons of water go down the drain. Well, number one, we just paid for 4 gallons of water that we didn't use. And as I've already said, water's never gonna get cheaper. Now it's gone down the drain to somebody else, to some other place. And we gotta go back to Lake Conroe and get 4 more gallons of water and pay to capture it, treat it, and deliver it to our faucet. So it doesn't make sense to waste water. Same thing true out in the yard, especially during the warmer months here. Everybody wants their grass so green. About half of the water you pay for is going onto your yard. So we're overwatering the grass, number one, but in a lot of cases you see it running down the street and into the storm drain.
Or it's been raining and people still have their sprinkler on.
Yeah.
Like Woodlands Mall.
So if you live within the Woodlands Township and you get your water bill from Woodlands Water, there is a defined irrigation schedule. You may only water 2 nights a week, depending whether your address ends in an even number or odd number. You water on these 2 nights or those 2 nights between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. You ever see sprinklers, even at Woodlands Mall, even at the grocery store? You ever see someone's sprinkler outside those times? Which pretty much means if it's daylight, nobody should have their sprinklers on. Take a picture. Mark what time it is. Take a picture if it's a home. Take a picture of the address if you can. Send the pictures to Woodlands Water. They will send a letter saying, oops, maybe you didn't realize your sprinklers were running during this time. Please don't do it again. If the same address gets sent in a second time, they add $50 to your water bill. If the same thing happens a third time, they add $100 to your water bill. And if the same thing happens a fourth time, you get $200 added to your water bill every single month that it happens. Oh, we're in the woods. We pay taxes. So people do stuff for us. And some guy showed up at Woodlands Water one day and said, I'm tired of getting these letters from you here and there. I have my sprinklers on. I'm gonna water my grass however much I want, whenever I want. Give me a check for $10,000. Just let me know when that's used up and I'm coming to write you another check. But don't tell me again about not watering my yard. True story. So are there ways we can use less water? So number one, San Augustine Brass is a warm season grass. It only grows when the temperatures are above a certain level. It should never be watered more than 1 inch a week. So if it has rained a 1/4 inch, you don't want to water more than 3/4 inch. And how do you know how much water your sprinkler is putting out? I don't care whether it's a sprinkler you put on a hose in the yard or whether it's your automated sprinkler system. You've got to know how much water it puts out. So I brought you rain gauges. The smaller one only measures 1 inch. The larger one measures a lot more than that. The smaller one has a spike on it, so you can take it out, put it in the grass. You really need more than one. I always tell people, if you want to know how much water your sprinklers are putting out, eat tuna.
Yeah.
Then save the cans. You want that shallow can, straight side, flat bottom. Put a few tuna cans out in the yard where the sprinklers are running. Turn on the sprinkler. Let it run 15 minutes. Turn off the sprinkler. Take a ruler, go measure every one of those cans. See how much water is in it. Add them all together, divide by however many cans it is to get an average. And that tells you how much water you're putting down in a 15-minute period. So if it's putting down a 1/2 inch in a 15-minute period in your yard and it's rained 1/2 inch, you only need to run your sprinklers 15 minutes. If you're running them longer than that, you're overwatering your grass. What happens with San Augustine? It keeps its roots really, really shallow. It has no incentive to grow its roots deeper in the ground where it can find its own water. So you get lazy grass. And then when the weather warms and the bugs show up, hey, you've got this really unhealthy, not very strong grass. And so they go to town on it. Diseases go to town on it. So don't water more than 1 inch. And don't fertilize San Augustine grass in the spring until you've had to mow at least twice. If you start out on just because it's on a schedule, 1st of March, gotta go put fertilizer on the grass. That grass is still dormant. It's just now coming out of dormancy. It can't take up fertilizer no matter how much you put down. It can't. So wait till you've had to mow at least twice. That way you know the grass is actively growing if you're gonna put down fertilizer. And then, please, read about lawn chemicals on the door hanger. Read the directions. I know, we're in Texas. And you go and buy the fertilizer and it says use a tablespoon per gallon. If a tablespoon is good, let's just dump some in. Follow the directions. Don't fertilize or use any lawn chemicals when you know it's gonna rain. I'm gonna mow and fertilize because it's gonna rain this afternoon. It'll wash it in. Is that what happens? No, it washes it off. And now it's in the storm drain, going to the nearest waterway, causing the algae and other vegetation to proliferate quickly. So more green stuff in the water, it's just like more green stuff on land, right? I mean, green stuff photosynthesizes, it puts its excess oxygen into the water, just like trees put their excess oxygen into the air. But at night, too many green plants in the water. During the day, the oxygen level shoots up, and at night, it drops off. Fish are not that smart. They're in there nibbling away and all this green stuff, thinking they're in heaven. Goes dark, and after a while, they're having a little more trouble breathing. If you could be there, right, as the sun comes up in the morning, and I've been there and seen a pond where there were fish with their mouths sticking out of the water, trying to figure out a way to breathe some oxygen out of the atmosphere. Well, they're not made to do that. So by the time the sun is up, they're all belly up dead in the water. That's why we have a problem for fish habitat. The oxygen level drops too low overnight. And then there's all those dead leaves that the landscaper blows down the street and into the storm drain. Did you know it's illegal to put anything in the storm drain? Anything. They're there for stormwater runoff, period. You put leaves from your yard in the storm drain, there's up to a $25,000 state fine and a 25 anything in a storm drain. Guy sent a picture a few days ago. He sent it to me instead of to Woodlands Water. I had to send it on, but sent me a picture. His neighbor was having a new part of his driveway put down. And when they got done putting down the concrete, the truck backed up to the storm drain and washed out his truck into the storm drain. The other neighbor took pictures, sent them to me, I sent them to them. TCQ took them under control and there were fines and remediation was ordered. It's against the law to put anything in a storm drain. Don't dump your used oil, don't clean your paintbrushes, don't blow your leaves down the storm drain. So inside the house, are there ways you can keep from wasting water? I asked this to the 5th grade, what could I do? And the more we talk, yeah.
What do you do? I have a neighbor that loves to wash his truck like every weekend. And I just see all those suds and bubbles just constantly going down into the storm drain.
Take a picture of the house number, take a picture of the truck, take a picture of the gutter, send it to Woodlands Water if he's in the Woodlands.
Because that's a lot of soap and chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah, take a picture, send it in. They'll send him a letter and say, maybe you didn't realize. And then after that, they get a lot nastier.
But it's not, because you don't.
But they never know who you are, right?
Huh?
No.
So,
No.
Terry?
Yeah.
If they don't live in the Woodlands, they send it to TCEQ?
You know, you can send it to TCEQ, and it's not that they don't care, but TCEQ deals with a lot of bigger fish to fry. Send it to whoever your water seller is. To whoever your water seller is.
Actually, if you're in Harris County, you can send it to Harris County Pollution Control.
You can, yes. Or send it to your water seller. So other ways we could reduce some water waste. And the kids figure out, yes, they could turn on the water with their hands, turn it off, lather up, and then turn it back on to rinse, or they can make sure the dishwasher is full before you run it. The dishwasher pretty much takes the same amount of water whether you're washing one plate or the whole load. So wait till it's full. Same with clothes washers. So one of the things I take to give away is this handy dandy little faucet aerator. It's made to go in the kitchen. It swivels, which is nice. If you pull down on this sleeve, it goes from stream to spray, and then push it back up if you want it to go back to stream. It uses 1.5 gallons of water per minute. That's all it will allow to flow through here is 1.5 gallons of water. I remember when we started out with low flow faucet devices. You turn it on and you're there for 15 minutes waiting while it trickled out. Technology has really improved products. So this one is not just low flow, but it's high pressure. I would pretty much promise you that if you changed out your current faucet aerator for one like this, you really wouldn't notice a difference in the flow, but you'd be reducing how much water can flow from the faucet. Gallon and a half a minute, thanks.
I want to validate those. I put them on my faucet, even in my bathroom. And it seems like I have more pressure with those things. They are really cool. I will, boy, give those.
So they make these for the kitchen, but I live in a lease house. So, you know, everything is as cheap as possible, and in the sink in the bathroom, it's got a little short, whatever that's called, the little neck that the water comes out of. So if you want to wash your hands, you're constantly bumping against the back of the sink. I put these in my bathrooms because it swivels, I can point it out and really do a better job of washing my hands. I mean, you know, don't stand on ceremony, but anyway, I love these. And what about, I'll ask the kids, what about if I turn off the light when I leave the room? Can I save some water?
Sure.
How?
Hydropower.
There's a lot of water used in the energy process.
Oh,
And it takes a lot of electricity to capture, treat, and deliver water. And it takes a ton of water to generate that energy. So the two are just like this. When you save one, you are automatically saving the other. So when you unplug stuff, when you're not using it, you turn off the light when you leave the room. And for goodness sake, don't leave those floodlights on all night outside the house. It's not only bad for water, it's bad for birds. So, you know, we can do a better job. So ways to reduce how much water we use. So today, my plan is for us, put on some gloves, take some of the mesh bags, get some grabbers, maybe take a net and go do a quick sweep. I'm talking for today for us, let's only go pick up litter for 10-15 minutes. I mean, really, only.
There you go. No, like you said, it just builds up your immune system. Huh? Okay, that group down there is trying to catch up to you. They did a good job. They're climbing in trees and everything. I'm gonna go catch up to Teri in case she says something. She's the speaker. Maybe because Cheetos gets your fingers all, you know, orange and sticky that they think.
Yeah, it's okay if your hands get dirty. You just go wash them off.
Oh, this was at the beach, you were saying?
Yeah.
I got here late.
Yeah, at the beach, the most littered item is Cheetos. Bag. I'm not seeing water in this storm.
Sounds like a day up there, yelling at us.
We're not gonna get to that.
Oh, this is where you typically got your water, Teri?
Got it several times. You think it's a little dry. Front and cheat some out of that.
Yeah, because we didn't have a rope to be able to toss it way down there in that spot. Huh?
One of the buckets, but I'm still, I don't know if the spot we're gonna get enough water.
Oh,
Is this one connected to the Spring Creek? Yeah, if you keep going far enough back, you end up to the Spring Creek at George Mitchell Preserve pathway.
And then that will connect to Rainford, the one over there, like the underpass.
Yeah. See any water in there, Bobby?
it's dry.
Okay, hey, people, I don't think we're gonna find enough water in this drainage channel. So let's start working our way back to go the other direction.
You think y'all were in the lead? Okay. I'll take one quick glance. I thought we had had rain recently, man. Everything here is like super dry.
My place said, what? 0.02 last. Maybe you need to see the eye doctor.
Yeah, we heard tons of thunder and lightning, and the road had looked wet, but I don't know how much water it got.
We're gonna weigh and sort this stuff. Quit putting it in there.
I think we're turning around. She couldn't find water back here, so she's taking us to the second best place.
Front to get a water sample if we can, so let's head that way. Hey, trash guys, we're moving this way.
We're heading the other way. Not enough water this way. So I think she has a second spot.
Like paper in there.
Opportunity. Now you're gonna win the record for the biggest piece of trash.
Team effort.
I can see trash here and over there. So spread out on both sides and take a look for what you can find. There's more trash here and here.
Where's your next opportunity for water?
I'm gonna tell them on Monday, the 24th.
Oh, no, I meant water for
Oh.
your sample.
Well, we're gonna go up here where the big cistern is. See that water.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of trash in here, guys. Quite a lot in here. This vinyl glove, pick that up in the whole category for stuff.
Since you like hiding, Lisa, I'm making sure I catch you picking up trash. There you go. That'll be the one thing on the video. You're picking up trash.
Yeah. Here's cigarette butt. Somebody make sure you get this cigarette butt, please. A lot more trash up here on the side of the parking lot.
Makes sense with the most for the divide up around the parking lot.
Yeah.
How are you doing? I'm good. How are you doing? Good.
Oh, I videoed you picking that up. Let me delete that.
It's okay for me to pick it up as long as I don't take it. Sounds like funny bird call. Yeah. more cigarette butt and some more trash in here. Water. Hey. Hey. Bring buckets, Kate.
Nope. I was hoping. Ah, I see water. Don't know if we can get to it, but I saw the reflection. Yes. Good. Dirty pond scum water, hopefully. Right, the dirtier the better for their experiment? Okay, good.
Guys, work your way this way, please. How good is the footing there? Those things fairly solid?
They are so far everywhere I've stepped. I mean, I have my good hiking shoes on though.
Fall and break my leg.
You need me to do it?
Maybe.
Like I said, I have my hiking shoes on.
So here's what I need is to toss it's out there. It looks like you're either gonna have to toss right there or
Okay.
right there. And can I hold
Yep.
this?
Which one do you like better?
That looks okay. If you can get, almost half the bucket full would be good.
Oh, okay.
Just toss it in there with the rope and there. Let it sink and then pull it in. I don't know how to make this look at you. There. It's gonna be a little heavy, so don't overfill it for weight. And that stick is behind you. Don't trip, please. Okay, Kate, I need the other bucket, baby. We're gonna pour this into the other bucket because the other one doesn't have a rope.
Oh, gotcha.
Hope I don't get your phone wet. Okay, can you do that a second time? Okay. It's a little heavy, Kate. Can you manage? You need someone to help you? I got it. Maybe give her a hand. Okay, you don't have to get quite as much this time. That's good. That's good.
Go. Camera. Step over.
Hey, I need some big guy to carry this. Big guy. This guy's here. Another guy. Well,
Big or not?
and it's a little bit heavy.
Where do you want to carry to?
We're going back to the classroom.
Front.
I don't know how to do this so that it doesn't trail in the ground. So stop right here first. Stop right here.
Where is everybody? Who wants to get out
They're too enthusiastic.
Guys, come on. Gosh, guys, this way.
For a second.
Yes, miraculous. Come this way, please. We're finished with trash. We're gonna all do it on the back porch.
Hadn't done that in a long time. I guess. it doesn't
Want a
go
little
away.
whistle?
There you go. Like it's getting a few people. coming. Well, I got some people way back.
I know.
It's fun to do a trash audit at your house. Get it out of your kitchen.
Yeah? Takes me forever to fill a trash bag in my house. It takes me a long time. My neighbor said, "Are you ill?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, it's trash day and your cart's not out." I said, "I don't even have a bag of trash. I'm gonna wait till there's more trash in my cart." He said, "What about your recycle cart?" I said, "It doesn't have much in it either, but it has more than the trash does, but I'm not putting it out until I have more trash." He said, "Well, I live alone too, and I have to put my trash out every week." And I just looked at him.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Living alone. My daughter and son-in-law and three kids. It's a massive amount of trash. I'm like, what do you guys do? You know?
Do a trash audit. It's an amazing thing.
They don't. Kids don't cook. They don't cook.
I could do good, but
Yeah, you're doing great.
You know, make
I'll have a kitchen bag. Little bag in my bathroom.
well, that includes the bathroom, doesn't it?
Yeah, one bag.
water was that drainage channel, but it's too dry. So we came up here where this cistern collects rainwater, and it may be that it collects some of the storm drain runoff as well. And it overflows into this part of the drainage channel, but apparently this never makes it down there where we first started out looking for water there. So Bobby bravely went down in and got us a couple of buckets of water that we're gonna test for dissolved oxygen. But I thought I'd also show you, today we're not gonna do all the tests that you would do as a volunteer, water quality volunteer. We're only gonna test for DO, but if we were doing this for real, we'd be doing what is called field observations. We'd be looking at the weather, we'd be looking at a lot of different things about it. But one of the really important things we do is mark how turbid the water is, how much stuff is floating around in it that gives it a color. And so look at this bucket. Look at either bucket. You can see the bottom of the bucket. You can easily see the bottom of the bucket. And you can see that the water has some color. But it's a little difficult to tell just how turbid it is. I don't know if any of you have ever used a Secchi disc to determine how turbid water is, but a Secchi disc typically is a 12-inch disc that's weighted on the bottom with lead. It's got a rope that you drop down in the water, and the way you use it is you let the rope out until you can no longer differentiate between the black and white quadrants that are on the disc. Well, so many of our waterways are so shallow, you can see the bottom easily. So where do you determine what the depth is or what the turbidity is when you can easily see the black and white quadrants? So we came up with a little bit easier way to determine turbidity. And if you can look down in there, you'll see there's a tiny little Secchi disc in the bottom of this tube. the black and white. So we're gonna do it in a little bit easier way. We're gonna fill this tube with the water. And we'll look down in to check for how turbid it is by whether we can or not differentiate between the black and white quadrants on this little baby Secchi disc. So I've clamped the hose closed. Will come help me.
Oh, that's not.
Just go ahead and pour it. Doesn't matter. Now, realistically, we want to do this in a shade. Even with that small amount of water, it is tough.
You could, William, you couldn't see the bottom? Is it?
It's
there?
pretty cloudy.
Wow, that's amazing. Because looking at it from the side, you know, it looks like clear. That's amazing. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Huh.
No. Pretty perfect. Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna let the camera see. I don't know what it'll see, but I'll give it a try. It's the camera. Okay, thank you.
Everybody get a chance to take a look? So what we would do is temporarily small amount of water until we can hear the differentiation. When I turn around, it's sunlight. You can see the difference between black and white. So we're gonna pretend I let some water out. And now we can differentiate. So this is genius that this is a little over a meter and it's got a scale on it. So when we log what the turbidity level is, we do it in meters. So easily you can see here would be 0.35 meters is the turbidity level. See how the water is at between halfway between 3 and 4. So 0.35 is what we would record for turbidity. Even though, I mean, look at that. And in the bucket, you can see the bottom. So this is the advantage of using the tube over using that Secchi disc so that you can't get a good reading. So I'm just going to dump this out. And volunteers to carry buckets to the back to the room, and we're going to go set these buckets in the room, but then we're going to do our litter audit. Well, the short answer is no. It really is just what's in the water. What's what are the dissolved things or particles that are in the water? And honestly,
Oh, I think I just found the winner.
Left the back door propped open.
It's supposed to be in there.
Okay. Let's go straight to the back porch outside that door where we came in this morning. For those of you watching from home, you're missing out on getting sweaty out here. It's already warm.
And I just want to know if you're ever down.
Oh, well.
One ball at the top of your head. Some
Yeah.
burns first. It's like.
Have a little color. What did we spend? Maybe 20 minutes picking up trash? Was it more than that? That's so bad I'm not watching it. Okay, let's work in the shade. What do you say? Let me get a chart. Okay, before we start our first shot, we're gonna wait on it. Before we stand up. All right, so we have our handy dandy fish scale. Somebody know how to use this? So, after you weigh that. And once you weigh. So let's call out the numbers to me. I'm gonna write down weight of each bag. Yeah.
29.
Listen. I'm gonna do only one decimal point, I'm gonna round up. Let's do this. After he weighs it, put it on the chart, so.
No, you have to take 1.44. Zero with, yeah.
Said you can wait a couple bags if you want to.
One point four two.
No, zero is before.
Now, once you put it, it's not gonna let you ask. So it might be easier, set the bags on the ground and then hook through the loops and then lift up all at once. You can do more than one, but you have to have them all at zero to start.
This is 5.68. 3.02.
Oh.
1.07.
We have to put them.
2.87.
We got about 18 pounds of trash here. They're large and hazardous categories, so we're gonna put this in large and hazardous. And guys, we don't have to finish this today. What time is
Okay.
10 o'clock.
it? And we're scheduled. Well, the DO test is gonna take us about an hour, so let's see what it goes.
3.05.
Yes.
0.99.
So now let's just jump out.
That's,
And try to really shake out the bag. In here in the car, so let's back up somewhere at the end. All right. Let's keep it Kelly. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, as we call out numbers, I suggest writing this because, well, we're not gonna call them out one by word. They're gonna say there's 7 boxes, so you're gonna write 7. But later, we uncover more and say, oh, well, now it's 8. So, yeah, in here, because this is where I'll run my totals at the end.
showing a picture.
Okay, so
Thanks.
Lisa, these are the main categories here. So tell us what that first main category is.
Beverage bottle.
No. First main category.
Sorry, hard and solid plastic.
So we're looking for hard and solid plastic. So let's start sorting off to one corner. Everything that's hard and solid plastic. Let's all agree on which corner that is. So yeah, right over here, hard and solid. So just start with things that's hard, drawing. Okay, hard and solid. That's not hard.
That looks, yeah.
So even these
Yeah.
little things like this are hard and solid. Hard and solid. Yes, so this makes it.
That sounds animal to me. Yeah. I'm just curious. I wonder if there's any effect.
No way.
I know.
While we're looking for hard and solid plastic, we might also easily find all the metal stuff. Let's make another corner. Start throwing metal stuff. There's more snake skin.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other half of it.
No, we put it. Yeah. I actually felt a lot better because. Oh my goodness.
But what did they do?
So perfect level.
Yeah, you can only, you can't move your.
And then
you have a lot of-
nerve that's stuck in there. It's spears, basically, it's pinching the nerve hurts. Like a big.
Guys,
I don't feel any pain. The six-pack. Oh, six-pack creams.
okay, so you have to write anything if there's something. What's the next one?
Beverage bottles and containers.
So, hard and solid plastic beverage bottles and containers. So let's count those. Bottles that have water in them, and those dump them on the ground. So every bottle.
Reusable.
and
bottle.
container.
And the soft, look at the soft.
Natalie, there's one. We're in hard. We're in hard. So all these little plastic water caps, and if there was, you would ever lid like that, you cannot take them off. They're on, they're part of the bottle. Okay, do we think we have all the caps over?
Can you keep videoing for me just real quick? I gotta go let somebody.
Let's move on. What's the next? Cigar plastic tip. Did anybody remember picking up one of those little plastic tips from the garden? All right, the reason cigarette butts are in the hard and plastic is because of the filter. That it's got plastic in the filter. There's at least one in here. Two. Oh, I got it. So let's look for cigarette butts. If you have gloves on, help search. That's what we're looking for. So listen up. Listen up. How many cigarette butts do we have? Seven. We really give this, we would need to see here. Why you limit collection time. So you have the time to do the audit, and it matters. Everything here needs to be counted. Now, at the top of each category, of every category, up at the very top is a place for fragments. So all these little weird pieces of plastic that are in that sack there, If they're not a complete something, they're a fragment. And as we dig more and more in here, we're gonna find that we didn't pick up all the little fragments of hard and solid plastic. Well, eventually, what we determine is, read me the choices for fragments.
You mean the number choices? 1 to 25, 26 to 100, 101 to 999, or 1,000.
Is that cycle? No, if it's not a complete something, it's a fragment. And every one of the categories, the metal, the glass, the plastic film, oh my gosh, look at all the little fragments of plastic film that are here. So it's not unusual. A scout did this for his Eagle project. We spent just under an hour. We spent like 50 minutes collecting trash. He had 13 kids working with him that day on his Eagle project. We spent 50 minutes collecting litter and 5 hours auditing it. We ended up with 100 pounds of litter. Picked up trash for 50 minutes. I bet they know later. So those conversations I want you all to think about. When you go home today, I guarantee you're gonna say to somebody, you're not gonna believe the kind of stuff we picked up right along the side of the rec center over there. That looked clean. You're gonna have a conversation that's gonna maybe cause whoever is in your circle of influence that you're talking to think, well, maybe I could do a better job of not leaving something that I dropped. Maybe I could do a better job of not dropping it to start. And I'll bet you money next time you think about whether something blows out of your shopping cart as you're going to the cart, the receipt flies away. Did you just go pick it up? I mean, really. All of this over time, as it rains, every piece of this is going to end up in water. Every single piece. A lot of it is plastic, a lot of it is styrofoam. This stuff breaks down. It pollutes, contaminates our water that we're using, or someone downstream of us is using for drinking.
This only took us what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
So guys, you know, I've been a master naturalist for 23 years. Continuously certified. This is what you're here for. Honestly, guys, this is what you're here for. This is what you have the power to do, is learn about ways to help conserve our natural resources and tell other people. Whether you do it as an instructor in some form of class, whether you just talk to your neighbor. You know, when you go out there and put down markers on top of storm drains, people see you out there. I can't tell you how many volunteers, sorry, I can't tell you how many volunteers tell me that while they're out there, you know, down on their knees, gluing down markers on top of storm drains, neighbors will come out and say, what are you doing? Take advantage of those opportunities. Know enough that you can give them a good answer and let them know how important it is to you that our environment is clean and healthy, because every breath of air you take, every bite of food you take, most of the medicines that we take all come from nature. And are we doing as good a job as we could in taking care of that nature that gives us all those things? By and large, no, we kind of take things for granted. So this is why we're here. Take it home, make it yours, figure out a way to share with others. And you know, I love you for doing this. We're not going to get the rest of the shit.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, but their trash cans here are funky, so we're gonna have to put it in the actual trash, the trash can. We'll do that in a minute. So what KTV does is, we tell them, we picked up this and we enumerate all what it was. And I report it in, and they look at the location. I'm gonna say this was at a park. Holy cow. I mean, people come here to this park to enjoy nature and leave this much crap. Okay, what's wrong with this picture? But what KTV does is they look at this data and they look at it within a park and they create better targeted messaging. When we piloted the project 2 years ago, we worked in Panther Creek Village Shopping Center. And we mostly worked behind the storefront, the strips of the shopping center, along the tree line and back where trash escapes from dumpsters and where employees go out the back door to smoke and toss their cigarette butts. Funny thing was, we kept finding these funky little pieces of a toy of some kind. A lot of them out there. And a lot of the same kind of little juice things. Sure enough, we walked around to the front of the strip and it's a daycare center. Okay, here's an opportunity. We can go to the daycare center and say, how could we help create a situation so that less of this trash ends up out here in this tree line that washes into that waterway? How could we help you do that? Need another trash can somewhere? What would it take for you to do a better job keeping trash where it belongs rather than all out in the trees? That's what KTV uses for. They already know, for example, on a beach, the most collected items are these. At a park, the most collected items are these. You know, out in a forest, the most collected items are these. It's only 2 years in to using this database, and they have a pretty decent handle on what kind of things end up where. But over time, that will get more and more and more refined. So picking up this trash today, oh my God, thank you so much. Look how much trash we took out of the waterways. But auditing it matters. It really matters. Thank you for hanging in there. I wish we had the time to do all this. I could put this in a bag. Honestly, literally, I could put this in a bag, take it with me, which I've done many times. And then at a later date, I would enter this information now. And then at a later date, I dump some of it out and I do more of a sort and I go in and I add to my report and I take another time and go do this. I have carried bags of litter with me to many a young scout project to show them how this is done. Not for people to say, but yeah, take this with me. I'm tempted to do it.
Is there a database where citizens can enter the types of trash they find?
So the short answer is yes, but it's you have to register. They prefer it be some organizational group. We could probably set up their own site. I'll start my report. I think I will take this. I'll start my report as the Woodlands Township / Parkwood Master Map. So that when I go back in, I know which report I want to add to, and I'll do more sorts later with other groups where we don't pick up as much trash. So someone thought maybe the chapter would want this smart parking places or something, but I'm leaving it to y'all to decide. That it takes up so much room. I can send it to you as a PDF. If you'll send it, get Carolyn, well, in a minute, I'm going to show you my email address. So if you send me an email and say I want the form, I'll send you the PDF. So stuff we already started. I'm not going to take for the rest of this. Let me get a trash bag. Let's see if we can
You got like.
So that's, we. If the and containers are clean, relatively clean, put them in recycle.
To a local bar. You still got some. Video on everybody. Good. Keep talking.
Right now, if you want to do this on your adopted path or just while you're out picking up litter one day, fill the form out, scan it and send it to me and I'll create the actual report, send it in and I'll put your name on it as well as the township. Does that work for you? I'm gonna leave this here. So guys.
That was page two, right?
Unfortunately,
Oh,
have no
okay.
recycle value. So
Oh, there you go. 'Cause I'd seen page one, right? There you go. Okay, thanks.
And there's hand sanitizer here. Go to the restroom to wash your hands.
Oh, no, maybe. for
Do they need to go? Teri, should they take a break? Yeah, I'm thinking so. And let me switch out. 10-minute break today, 10-15? 10-15, yeah, whatever works.
Did it hit get a pause or something? Hopefully it's been recording.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that was you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me do- Thank you.
We gotta let-
This one
Okay,
time
so
when
I
you
started
do
this one, so now what we need to do with this one is, here we are. We need to go in here,
Maybe shrink it.
shrink it. Oh, there we go.
Swap them.
And then we can do this, stop video.
There you go.
There we go.
And get off and put new.
There we go.
we want to measure the oxygen in the water. So what we have to do is completely displace all this oxygen, so we only have water in here. Here's how you're gonna do this. Oh, man, come over there. Take the cap off, keep the cap in one hand, the bottle in the other. Go down it straight upside down into the bucket till you're below the water level. And by the way, guys, we're doing the quick and dirty because we don't have time to do all of the rinses twice before and after steps. We're doing the quick and dirty, but I promise you, you'll get an answer that we'll talk about that. And it'll talk about. And it'll be. So, straight upside down the water level, under the water level, slowly turn the side until it's all the way straight up. It's gonna go glug, 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 glug. But when it's completely full, give it a shake under the water. Any air bubbles get out of there. Keep holding it under the water, the other water with the other hand. Opening up. Under the water, you can get a shake, so there's no air bubbles trapped in the cap. And under the water, we're gonna put the cap on the bottle, and as we take it out of the bucket, slowly turn it to the side and watch for air bubbles. If there's air bubbles, you're going back in the bucket. So once we do this, straight upside down, into the bucket. Okay, give it a shake. There's no air. Tap upside down, give it a shake, underwater, tap on, bring it out. Slowly turn it, no air bubbles, good to go. Do not put your gloves on before you do this. This really is just water, and you don't want your gloves full of water for the rest of the day. At least take off the glove. All right. Fill your bottles.
And then turn it right side up in there.
Somebody from each group fill up the sample bottle.
Yeah, there.
Behave nicely, two of you could probably do it at the same time.
Good job.
Hey, Teri, you were doing this. Yeah, well.
Good.
Hey, you can't cheat. You can't cheat. You're looking it up on the internet. Not fair.
You will all set up.
You can't get to the internet. Township, no passwords. No air bubble, huh? So, cool. Yes, good germs. Well, yeah, you need just a little. It's your body. I know, right? Anyone who, because when we were kids, right, it's like, nowadays, it's like sanitary, right? I mean, you gotta wonder about all this. Why it's like, wait a minute.
Y'all done? Everybody done?
Two more bottles. One more.
You will not. Of getting you the chemicals. And what? Really don't make me come over. If you wear glasses to see, you don't have to wear the safety glasses. If you don't wear glasses to see, you do. And if you wear glasses to see and want to put the safety glasses over, that's fine too. So the first thing we're gonna do is what's essentially the first step when water runs down your drain from kitchen or bathroom or flushes from your toilet, goes into the sanitary sewer and heads to the treatment plant. Essentially, what they do is what we're gonna do next. So you're gonna find a chemical that has manganese sulfate. I'm gonna show you how I want you to do this. What's the first rule of scientific method if we want to be able to compare, contrast, and collate our data? All the drops as close to the same size as possible, because I see them and I know how much pressure I'm putting on the bottle. I'm going to put it near the bottle, but I'm not going to touch the reagent bottle to the sample bottle and vice versa. Why? Well, we don't want to contaminate mostly our reagent. We don't want to contaminate. So I'm going to hold it here and I'm going to put in 8 drops. So watch me do this. Immediately cap your reagent. Make sure it's on there nice and tight. Goes back into the kit. Put 8 drops of manganese sulfate in your sample. Take turns doing these steps, guys. Got it. High school science. You know, this is simple science, but it's real science. And for those who volunteer doing water testing, it results in real data that real people who make decisions use. So don't diss the simple science. It all matters. Everybody got their 8 drops in? Manganese sulfate. Capped it back in your kit. Next, look for the alkaline potassium iodide azide. Usually has a blue ring on it. And exactly what we did before. Add drops. So add 8 drops to your sample. Take turns doing it, guys. Now, was that bottle already full with water? Uh-huh. And so we're adding stuff to it. It's gonna be overflowing at some point. Make sure you're working over the paper towel, and guess what? The lid has this handy dandy little cone shaped thing in it, that when you put the cap on, it's gonna force it to overflow, work over the paper towels. And after you've added your 8 drops, put the cap on, nice and snug. So somebody tell me what's going on in your sample bottle now. So we had a chemical reaction with the chain. What else is happening in there? Huh?
Precipitating out. It's getting murky.
You see? Be looking stuck there now. So those two chemicals we cause the solids to start clumping together. And what do we call it? Flocculent. This is flocculent. This is not.
Yep.
So
You can see that's pretty cool.
now we're going to mix it well, but if I just everybody, we're gonna do it my way. Hold it like this, and we're gonna invert it 25 times like this. 1, 2, so invert it 25 times.
Invert is that.
Well, either one.
Oh, either way.
Either way's fine. And by the way, don't do what I did. Make sure you caps back on the reading. Why he's got paper towel because he's already making a mistake on
She did too.
It's for that clumpy stuff to start settling to the bottom because it's clumped together, it's heavier than the water. This is what we call the shoulders of the bottle here. We want to wait until the solids drop below the shoulders. And if you can see mine holding it out here, you can see it's already clear up here at the top. Those solids are starting to fall to the bottom. I suggest you don't move this bottle around and shake it up anymore. But we're gonna wait till it's clear down below the shoulders. So can you see? Mine has already dropped all those clumps below the shoulders. Guys, if you want, and she could send it out to you if you're interested. Just in case you ever happen to end up with alkaline potassium. Yes, it's usually on this now. So now, see how much is below the shoulders now? If you're kind of sitting on the table and you're looking down on it, that's hard to see. You either need to lean down and look or gently lift it up. I think I see all of us are below the shoulders. So let's invert it 10 more times. 1. color change, didn't we? We changed color and look what's happening with those solids in there.
Solids in there.
Sulfuric acid do for this thing. It dissolves. So do you think we're gonna dissolve all those solids with this sulfuric acid? Maybe. So once again, you're putting your cap on, it's gonna force it to overflow. You have a paper towel. Cap on good this time, really. Everybody's got their cap on. We're going to invert again, but this time we're not going to count. This time we're going to time it. Carolyn, could you possibly set a timer for 3 minutes and we'll tell you when to start? Yes. Wait. I'll have all to do it together.
There's an app for that.
I can do it. Tell me when you're ready.
Bob can beat you.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so start inverting. Start your timer. So we're gonna do this for 3 minutes. So while we do this and we don't have to count, somebody tell me how oxygen gets into the water. What? Plants.
Some of it from the surface.
Salt water from the surface.
So when transfers some oxygen in. So the choppier the top of the water is, the more surface there is contacting it, the atmosphere, so there's more water, so that surface, that atmospheric oxygen is aerating the water. That's also why, you know that cute goldfish pond the neighbor put in down the street, and in the middle of it, he put the fountain thing that sprays water into the air, because as rain or water falls through the atmosphere, does it also glom on to oxygen that it carries with it into the water? Absolutely, yes. How does oxygen get out of water? What? By. So composition. Okay, tell me those 3 main decomposers.
FBI, yeah. Oh, sorry.
So easy way to remember those 3 main decomposers. FBI is on the scene when something dies: fungi, bacteria, and vertebrates. Do those same decomposers that operate on terrestrial ecosystems operate on aquatic ecosystems? Absolutely, yes. And are all 3 of those organisms oxygen users? So you remember we talked about blowing your leaves down into the storm drain, and everything that leaves from a storm drain ends up in the nearest waterway, no treating. So all those leaves are now in the waterway. FBI goes to work. Are they using up a lot of the oxygen? It's a crime scene. It is a crime scene. How else does oxygen get out of water?
Does it mean when the water gets hot? Or there's more?
So, I'm sorry, tell me your name. You didn't wear your name
Andy.
tag.
Yeah.
What is it? Andy. Andy says this temperature. Well, I have to do this.
10 seconds.
When he calls time, we just stop this. Ever go to the fridge, you get a Coke, the phone rings, you
Time.
get sidetracked.
Time.
You've left your Coke sitting on the kitchen counter. You go get doing other stuff. 2 hours later, you come back, oh, forgot my Coke. And you pick up, drink it, and it's flat. As liquids warm, they lose their ability to trap gases. And what is oxygen? So, yes. If you went to the sample at 8 a.m. and you went back at 3 and took the sample from the exact same place, you will not get the same oxygen. It's not gonna happen because the water has warmed up. Well, unless there's nice trees along the waterway and they've shaded it and kept it cooler. A But that's also why at 8 AM, when you threw your fish line in, you caught a few fish. But when you went back at 3, you couldn't catch a fish to save your life because they're smarter than that. They all went where the water is deeper and cooler. Everything's living in there. I'm using that. Everything living in there, using that oxygen. Which is why when there's that proliferation of green vegetation during the day, everybody's happy, but at night, not so much, because the lights and all that. So now we have our scenes. If I open this lid and I set this here open, it would be a few hours before there would be enough contact with the air, the atmosphere to affect the reading we're going to get in the end in any significant way. And is this a mixture or a solution? Why? Why is it a mixture?
Because the
Isolation.
Okay, so there's the key. Can we come now here and take any of the stuff we added to the water back out? No, it's a solution. If I took this bucket and I dumped in dirt until I made mud, and I left it sitting until all the water evaporated out, I'd still have mud. So that's a mixture. When you're working with 5th graders, you demonstrate a mixture by putting Chex and M&Ms in the bowl together, and then they get to eat the M&Ms. So our solution is fixed. If we were 4 real water quality monitors who were down at a stream, we were doing our tests. Here comes the thunder that we had at 4 o'clock this morning. We don't want to stay out there. So we could take this home, and as long as we finish our test within 4 to 6 hours, it's not going to make any difference. But we're going to finish it. So the next step is to do a titration. So the first thing you need for a titration is a vial with a cap that looks like this. Find your vial with a cap that looks like this. I think everyone has vials that have several marks on them. If you only have one line, that's 20 milliliters, but if you have more than one line, find the 20 milliliter line. This is never as easy as it sounds. We're gonna pour solution into the vial to the 20 milliliter line. Can you say meniscus? What is that? So the surface tension on the sides of the column make it look as though the water is higher on the sides and lower in the middle. We're going to put the bottom of the meniscus, the lowest point on the water, on the 20 milliliter line. And guys, I'm just telling you, I don't care how you do it. When you pour from here into here, it's going to spill. So work over your paper towels. If you need more paper towels, I don't know, the rolls are around here somewhere, but have plenty of paper towels handy. And listen, if you overfill it, it's murder trying to take a little bit out of here. So pour it very slowly, stop and check, stop and check. So fill your vial. So the bottom of the meniscus is on the 20 milliliter line. Have your sample so you don't accidentally spit over and spill it. Are you showing off on this? Okay, heads up that the cap is a hole in it. But it needs to be firm on the vial. So snap it till you hear it click. Now we need a titrate that looks like this. We need, sodium. I always said thiosulfate, most people say thiosulfate. We need the sodium thiosulfate. On my thiosulfate, it has a handy little hole in it. So here's what I'm gonna do, watch me do this, please. I'm grasping my titrator down near the tip, put it into that hole, turn it upside down. And there's a scale on the side of the titrator. The 0 is at the bottom when you're holding it like this. First thing we'll do is draw a little bit of this into the titrator and then quickly expel it to get rid of the air bubbles. And then slowly start drawing it down. But I want you to look at the tip of the green part, the plunger itself. There's a rounded tip to it, but then there's that disc that rides along the side of the column that creates the vacuum that causes this to fill. Pay attention where the flat surface is nearest the tip, and we're going to draw this down until that flat surface is right on the line at 0. That flat surface right on the line at 0. So it's going to look like this. So go ahead and fill your titrator. See this flat surface? Find your scale. Line up that flat surface with the 0. Put the line at the 0. Yes. I prefer to me read my slides on a PowerPoint presentation, but you know, we can't do this on a PowerPoint. So everybody ready? All right. I suggest you grab near the tip, take it out of the thiosulfate bottle, put it directly, listen to me, into the cap of the vial and do not touch the green plunger. Cap your sample, cap your thiosulfate. Everybody ready? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to drop one drop. And we're not shaking this. This isn't inverting. This is swirling. Use your wrist. We're going to swirl. And we're going to keep dropping and swirling until we see another color change. And guys, listen to me. I do not want this to go clear. I want it to turn lighter yellow, but not go clear. So, paper, use your paper towel. Here's how to tell what color it is. Hold it out. Hold your white color. Hold it a little ways away from it so that the light is bouncing off the white. And when you get it like this, stop adding drops. Make it this color, light yellow, stop adding drops. Don't look at it out there, look at it with white light behind it so you can see the color. Let me see. Put white behind it. Hold it away from the light. Hold it away from it. So you get white light, see how light that is, that's perfect. Don't put the bottom right up against the paper towel, hold it out a little ways so there's white light now. Good? Everybody good, like y'all? Somebody describe the color as well hydrated seed. It's a very subjective test. So if we were for real water quality monitors out there and we take along a partner or two and we're all doing different parts of the water testing, this is one of the tests where the same person needs to do it every single time. Because what I see as yellow is not what you see as yellow. It just doesn't work that way. So same person always needs to look at this. What I suggest when I'm doing the training for water quality monitors is go to the paint store or the paint department at a big store. They've got all those little sheets with colors that are light to dark, whatever. Pick a color yellow and pale, right? Next time you do the test, find the one that when you think that's the color you want is closest to it. Clip that little color yellow off and stick it on a piece of white paper so that instead of today we're using a paper napkin and you have your white paper with your yellow sample. And when you hold it up to compare, you've got something so you can try to be as consistent as possible. But for now, we're all just going like that. So now we need to add one more chemical. Well, I don't want to lose any of my thiosulfate unless it goes into my bottle. So before I open it, I'm going to pull out my starch indicator and get the bottle open. Because I'm not going to have as many hands to use for a minute. I'm going to set it aside and watch me do this. I'm going to pop this cap open, but I'm going to hold it so the tip of the titrator stays suspended over the vial. So if anything comes out of here, it goes into the sample. This is called a direct reading titrator. What does that mean? We're going to read the answer directly off the titrator. So I don't want to lose any of my thiosulfate except into my sample so that I know what a correct reading is. So I'm going to add my starch indicator. Wonder how many drops I'm going to get. 8. So I'm telling you, sometimes I don't know what it is about the starch indicator, but it is so difficult to get it to come out of the bottle. So if you're getting yours to come out, you might borrow your neighbors. 8 drops.
I've got a good bottle if you want to borrow one.
Yes, please. It's
Like,
That's really
that's very descriptive, yeah.
I don't know what it is about starch indicator. Sometimes. When that color change, when you put your cap back on your vial, listen for the click. We're going to swirl this. So it looks like there's blue clouds in there, but you keep swirling until all the water in there is the same color. And don't splash it around. Nothing should ever touch the titrator but the thiosulfate. So that's why we're swirling. We're not shaking this. And so now I'm going to go back to titrating again. I'm going to add a drop and I'm going to swirl. But look, see the clouds? Keep swirling until all the water is the exact same color every time you add a drop. And listen up, guys. As soon as it goes clear, stop adding thiosulfate. But when you think it's clear, get your white background out, and if it has any hint of blue, add one more drop. Now I'm actually clear. We're all sort of
Yeah.
all the same color that we have. Hold the white background from it, make sure there's no hint of blue. It's got any blue color left in all that. Drop.
So that's very, very light. That's not great.
Okay, guys, now then, our titrator is the other way up. So now the 0 is at the top. And the numbers get larger going down. Look at the scale. So it goes from 0 down to 10. You remember that flat surface near the tip you lined up with 0? See where it is, and don't forget you're going from smaller to larger. So whatever number is above it is the number you start with, and then every one of those X marks is 0.2, but your answer doesn't have to be multiple of 2. It's between 2 hash marks. Figure out where I do 0.5, but so look to see what your reading is. So you read from your okay, so what did you get?
4.1.
4.6. 4.9. 4.4. 4.2. 5. 4.4. 4.8. 4.8. What did you guys get? 4.2. 4.2. 4.3. 3.5.
Someone.
Yeah.
What is your guess? I got 3 points. What number do we want?
I don't know. 0 maybe.
So most aquatic organisms want to live in water with a dissolved oxygen rate somewhere between 6 and 9. Here's what happens. That oxygen level falls below 6, down into the 5s, maybe into the high 4s. There are organisms that can still live there, but they probably can't complete their reproduction cycle. As it falls through the 4s down into the 3s, pretty much everything starts getting eliminated from being able to live there. I mean, I've been to ponds with such a low DO, you can hardly measure it, but still have leeches. Not what I wanted. So one of the ways that we can guesstimate the quality of water, if we're not doing a test for dissolved oxygen, is to use a net, get up those macroinvertebrates out of the waterway, divide them into categories, identify at least 2 genus or families, and there are some that are very intolerant of pollution. Some that are kind of in the middle and can take some pollution, and there are those that are very tolerant of pollution. So if all we find in the water are the ones that are tolerant, that tells you the DO is probably pretty low. If we find a good mix, it's probably pretty good water quality. And if we find only those that are intolerant, it's probably excellent water quality. But testing for the dissolved oxygen level is a really good way to kind of nail in the quality of the water as far as aquatic organisms habitat. Remember I said all the waterways in the township are listed with TCEQ as of concern for fish habitat.
And the concern is low dissolved oxygen.
Because we've got all that organic material, all those fertilizers, all washing. into our
So
water.
we've got excess
So
nutrients.
we've got excess
from
nutrients,
dog food, we've got excess
dog food, we've got
in the
excess
water, causing
in the
the
water,
vegetation to proliferate. We've got all that decomposition
all
going
that
on from all the dead
decomposition
leaves
from
and
all
from
the
the
dead
green
leaves
stuff
and
that
from the
dies.
green stuff that dies.
And by the way, from the belly of the
And
fish.
by the way, from the belly of the fish.
So dissolved oxygen is a really critical factor. Ours is a little low. If you looked down into where Bobby bravely climbed down in there to get our samples, you saw that the water wasn't running really well. It was barely moving. It was moving, but barely moving. And even though we had rain in the last few days, thinking that there hasn't been enough water falling into it to aerate that little pond area where he got the water. So I'd be very surprised if there's much living in that little waterway. It is what it is. But this way, we have something, combine that with our turbidity reading that showed that the turbidity was so high that we only had to put that much in the tube. And we already couldn't see the darn Secchi disc. So there's all these excess solids in the water, low DO. It's not good water. It's not Spring Creek, but eventually that water is gonna go to Spring Creek. Township took the step back in December, bought all the supplies and a sizable donation to the, and they sent down, we trained 6 water quality monitors to test for E. coli. In 8 local tests monthly. The professional monitors who are paid by grant money from EPA Clean Rivers Program funds through Houston Galveston Area Council, they test for E. coli along with the rest of their tests, but they test on a schedule. That means they could come and test today, and tomorrow we have a big rain event that washes more dog poop and more stuff into the waterway. And we're not gonna see those results. We're just gonna see from when they test. So these guys that we got trained in January are gonna test monthly. And they've all agreed that they'll figure out, you know, I'm gonna test on the 3rd weekend of the month. But if it rains a couple of days before, or there's rain in the forecast for a couple of days after, they'll do the rest of their tests, but they'll hold off on the E. coli test until we've had a rain event, because that's when it all washes in there. TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, in their infinite wisdom, has determined that an acceptable level of E. coli bacteria in our water as an indicator of the bacterial level is 126 parts per million. I don't know, that sounds like a lot, but right now, in the first few months of this test, we're nowhere near a baseline yet, but we've got a few results. It's running about 150. Not the worst it's ever been by far, but still above what TCEQ says is acceptable. I was able to get the data going back about 10 years from those professional monitors to see what has happened in Panther Branch and Bear Branch for the last 10 years or so. And as I was looking through, I noticed, I think it was 2018, I think, all of a sudden, the reading in Bear Branch was 23,000. 3,000 parts per million. So I got on to Harris County Flood Control District. They have 4 rain monitors out here in Montgomery County. So you can go in and look at the rainfall in Montgomery County on the Harris County Flood Control site. It had rained 4 straight days in significant amounts, more than an inch. One day was more than 5 inches, more than an inch for 4 days in a row. I mean, that's the answer to the question, where does the bacteria come from? And as I said to you earlier, when they test the bacteria, 3/4 of it comes from dog poop. So I reiterate to you, every problem we've talked about today in our water is a 100% solvable problem. We don't have to let litter go into the water. We don't have to blow our leaves into the drain inlet. We don't have to leave our dogs poop on the ground. How much do we want to? You have to decide that for yourself, and you're willing to talk to others about what you intend to do to try to help keep our waterways safe and clean. Kind of up to each of us. I hope you'll decide you want to get involved. So there's 4 of these scattered around. They're waste containers. I'm going to ask you to please expel the rest of your thiosulfate into the vial. Put the titrator back into your kit. Open the vial and your sample bottle and empty the both of them into the waste container that's near you. Caps back on, put them back in. I'll clean them up later when I get to the house.
So how did like you dye ponds and stuff? That pond dye sounds stupid asking. That pond dye is gonna eventually just leach off into our water system.
Yes. Help water where fish can clean because there's no fish in there to catch.
And I'm like,
Probably not the best idea. So the question is about geese and ducks in the ponds in the township. I'll tell you another story. So a lot of those ducks in our ponds are those invasive, federally defined invasive Muscovy ducks. They're not from here. They shouldn't be here. They're those really ugly black and white. Yeah, and so township puts up signs in all the ponds and parks that says, please don't feed the ducks. So a few mornings ago, I was with an Eagle Scout who was doing his project, doing that litter audit thing for his Eagle project. And here comes this woman and she gets near the pond at the park. She gets near to where I am and she pulls the bag out of her bag, the baggie is Ziploc, and she reaches in and she starts scattering whatever it was, looked like breadcrumbs. And of course, the ducks just start flocking there. So I walked over, had on my township shirt. And I said, ma'am, I wish you wouldn't do that. She said, I feed the ducks every morning. And I said, well, ma'am, the sign is asking you, please not feed them because they shouldn't be here. They're here. They're displacing any native aquatic birds and any of the migrants that usually come through because they're staying here all the time. She said, I like feeding the ducks. And I said, does it bother you at all that all around here where the pavilion is, you cannot take a step without stepping in duck poop? And she said, I pay taxes. I have every right to feed the ducks. Just to push your buttons. I'm sorry to admit this. Just to push your buttons. I took my phone out of my pocket and I took a picture. She said, got a phone, I can take a picture, she holds it up to me and I went. So there are aquatic birds, including ducks and geese, who should be here. There are those that migrate through here. And then there are those that shouldn't be here. In all cases, every single case, if you feed them, they don't do what they're supposed to do. You feed them and they're supposed to be migrating through, they stay. If you feed them and they shouldn't be here, they proliferate in an alarming way. Township does not. Township does not. They do occasionally contract or summer. The Muscovies are not native, so they are not protected. Just to say.
It's not illegal to take it from a pond or park.
Yeah, somebody told me someone said, yeah, I kill them and eat them. And I thought, I've eaten wild duck before. Yeah. They're okay and they're done. Yeah, well, apparently.
I like mine in turducken. I like mine as turducken.
And the wild ducks, you know, you have to get the taste out. So guys, we're almost out of time. I can't tell you how great you've been today. Thank you for your thoughtful questions. If you have questions for me, this is your opportunity.
So is green in the water, like algae, duckweed?
Well, short answer is it depends. Duckweed is a native vegetation, and a lot of fish and other aquatic organisms eat it. But if there's too much nutrients, excess nutrients being added to the completely covers the top of the pond, then it gets to be a bad thing. I mean, same with algae. Who had a question? That's okay, there are no dumb questions.
It was.
There's some of these ponds, or you see some of the bodies where they're constantly mud. Is that because of the clay in the soil here, or what exactly causes that? Because it never really settles out.
So, in a good, healthy riparian area, there's native vegetation, deep roots that hold soil in place along the banks. There's trees that cool the water that hold the banks in place with their roots. There's buffer zones out from the sides of the waterways with native vegetation with deep roots that holds soil in place. And then there's where we, in our infinite wisdom, decided it needed to be straighter, or it needs to be mowed regularly, or we don't want trees alongside it. So, you know, let's get rid of trees. If you go over to Bear Branch Recreation Center, go back behind the tennis courts where Bear Branch itself crosses the big pathway. Either way you look from that crossover, the banks just fall off in big slabs. It's because it's not a native grass and they mow it X times a year. So there's nothing there to hold those banks in place. And instead of sloping out of the creek itself, they're straight cuts because they keep falling off the sides. So there's always going to be those solids in the water from poorly managed waterways. I mean, in a perfect world, we leave nature alone, would have native plants doing their job, and we wouldn't have to mess with it. But that's not what happens. We mess with it. We decide, oh my God, look how weedy that looks. Stuff is growing up there. We got to go mow. So.
The construction projects around are really bad.
Well, construction project, water prevention permit, and they put up silt fences to keep that bare soil from washing away, don't they?
They don't.
No. No, and there's a person who lives right here in the Woodlands who, one of her tasks is to inspect silt fences. How many construction projects are there and how many of her is there and how often is she gonna get around to everyone to check? And after it rains the first time, is the silt fence down?
Well, there's where they're building, have built the new HED, and then right next to it where they're building all those apartments. I don't know how they got permits to do that. Those are wetlands. Those are in a swamp around and water plants, and they just came and filled it in.
Well, they did get a permit. Army Corps of Engineers took a look at it and determined, just because it's a wetland, doesn't mean it's not an area that can be developed. Let's charge them for the permit enough that will mitigate in some other wetland and let them fill in this one and build there. Who needs another stinking wetland, really? Yeah.
Like what happened in Town Lake in Cyprus. They went in and killed the birds. They were caught bagging them.
So guys,
Oh, yeah.
maybe I sound a little over the top about water. You know, it's been my passion for a really long time. But it's important.
What's for drinking?
Yeah,
Whiskey.
whiskey. What's for fighting?
Water.
Yeah. Texas has the most convoluted water laws you will
Oh,
ever find.
they do.
If you start doing the water labs with me, especially those 2-hour online sessions, and when we circle back to, there's an entire chapter in the Texas Waters book on Texas water law. We went through it for 2 hours and decided we need to do it for 2 more hours the next time. It's that convoluted. You can't water laws in Texas.
Yeah, you technically own the water on your property, right?
You own the water below your property. Unless you sold it or leased it. So guys, if you want to talk about water, I would love to hear from you. If you want to get certified as a water specialist, I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to volunteer with me to put down storm drain markers or hand out dog poop dispensers at a dog park, I want to hear from you. Yeah, so. Any other questions? I mean, I don't want to run you past the time you're supposed to go, and I don't know what more you got to do today.
Well, if anyone's interested in becoming a Texas water specialist, let me know. I have a list here, so I'll be able to check off your name and let Melissa know to add that little check mark. So whenever you go into before the volunteer hours or your 80 hours, it'll have that little check mark at the bottom that says Texas water specialist.
Me, but not until after October.
Oh, it doesn't matter when. So just add it to that, and when you're ready to start using it, you just go down and there's a little box that you check for that. I also have a list from Melissa of everyone's hours so far. So if you're curious about where you stand with your AT or your volunteer hours or your initial training hours.
Those are
WW.
I work in the ground all day.
No, I even took him with me when I logged mine and I told him he needed to log in.
Because 45 days and then you have to get a dispensation for that.
You're getting too much
If
radon.
you go over 45 days, that's right.
Yeah.
So I have a list here if anyone's interested and wants to come up to me and find out where they stand with their hours. And if you want to get suggestions beyond what Terry's got working here in the Woodlands, if you need suggestions about ways to get volunteer hours or other ways to get more AT, See me, I know Matt has had problems with getting the bulletin, the newsletter. Are all of y'all facing that?
No,
I
Fixed it.
Y'all-
I got dropped twice, but I'm back.
Oh, good. We still need to work on this now. You might have to create a whole new email address. I don't know. Yes.
Our initial 40 hours of volunteer, do we have to get that by December, or is there a specific time after we finish the class?
Initially, they would say that you could go until the next training classes started, or until a year after your training classes started. They had all these different kinds of rules. The last thing that we heard is that you had to get it by the end of the calendar year. Now, the thing about that is that we have your stuff on here, and we've had people who are just getting their initial certification, like from last year, like within the last month or so. So we're not that militant. We want you to not just graduate, because all we're going to this except the Williams. Hours for initial training. All it takes to graduate are those 40 hours. Now, to certify, how many hours do you need of volunteer service? 40. How many hours of advanced training? 8. Okay. If you get those, as soon as you get those, you are considered certified Texas Master Naturalist, not just graduated, but certified. If you get double within your first year, then you're considered doubly certified. So not only will you get this pin, which is what you get for certifying, and when you graduate, you get an A tag. When you certify, you get the little poison-egg pin of the dragonfly. When you double certify, you're going to get that beautiful pin that's the Texas ecoregions for this year. Okay, so that's also a possibility.
Every year has a unique recertification pin. Every year, and you can only get it that year. I have 23 recertifications.
Yes,
Yes.
I got her a little thing to hold all of her pins on. I don't think they fit. Like a bib.
I don't know. Maybe wear a vest like the scouts do.
That's it. That's what she needs. Yes.
Anyway, but it's unique to that year. If you didn't earn it that year, you never get another chance at it. So it's really worth the effort unless unless your circumstances just won't allow it. It's really worth it to try within the calendar year, not just to finish class and finish your first 40, but try to get another 40 in so you get this year's recertification.
And Teri has great ways to do it. Teri, well, it's tough, but when I'll tell you one of the big secrets to getting a lot of hours is join one of the committees. I got 800 hours one year because I was president. Come on.
Every committee. She was on every committee.
I got all the hours. It was great. So, but I'm serious, when you join a committee, or if you help write articles for the newsletter, or if you help edit the bulletin, or if you have the VMS system, approving people's hours, all of those things are quick ways where you don't have to go someplace that helps the chapter grow. Now, one of our big problems, I don't know if I told you this, we had people sign up for this class. 68 people sign up for this class. We cut it off at 40, okay? It always makes me feel bad to tell people no, you can't take the class, because I know it's a whole other year before they can join us. Other chapters do 2 classes a year. Why can't we? I'll tell you why. We have one person join VMS. She has to go and improve hours for 100 and Alan has just volunteered to do it too. But you know, it makes a difference as to how much we can grow. And as Teri has pointed out so eloquently today, everything we do and everything we learn and everyone we go forward and talk to about what we've learned is another shot in the arm for our natural resources. And so I can't stress enough how important it is for us to not just go out and work on these projects, but to actually work in the chapter and for the chapter, okay? So if any of you are interested in doing newsletters, bulletins, VMS, anything like that, just let us know.
And if scheduling is part of the problem you're having, the draining marker installing, once we figure out where you're gonna work, and I make you a map, and I fill up a bag of, with a kit with all your supplies, you do it when you do it. If you want to get dog bag dispensers and go to a dog park, you do that when you wanna do that. I mean, and honestly, take your lawn chair, you go sit there for 2 hours, and then people come by, you offer them one of the pet waste bag dispensers. He also serves who waits, you know, go at a time when you expect people will be there, and the whole time would be volunteer service time. You can tell the story, you can point out the information, you never, ever, ever, ever ask your dogs. Because everyone does.
But then they wait for the poop fair.
Here, so certification. It would it then be 16 hours of advanced training as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I've noticed that several of you don't have a lot of advanced training, yet that on the state website, under TNN Tuesday, you can watch those videos. They have made it possible for us to watch it as a recording. Most things you can watch as a recording and have it count until YouTube. As a see, only count the ones from 2020. I'll tell you, we go back to 2022, hearing the incredible snow that we had. So in 21, or 20,
February 21.
okay, they had a whole, like 3 hours, because it was a previous year on the launch. So things that interest you, remember 2023, they do it every month. That's 4 hours right there already, 10 and Tuesdays, okay? And our monthly meetings.
And even if you're not interested in getting certified as a water specialist, if you're available on that month from 3:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon, 2 hours with me online talking about water is advanced training. You can get 2 hours every single month doing that if you're available on that Monday.
Awesome.
And I don't care if you're trying to get your certificate or just want to learn more about water.
If you watch the monthly meeting on Zoom, does that?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Live counts. Not live.
Yeah.
If you, then it's this last month, one meeting, I'm naturalist and thought.
Is it iNaturalist or is it Harvard?
And 0.5 for chapter business. So that's volunteer hours.
So what is it?
It's.
Because I did that and I wasn't sure. Oh, I did chapter Zoom and I wasn't sure if I was allowed to put hours in
Yes.
because I'm not certified or haven't graduated yet. So
No,
I
no,
wasn't.
no.
So like I didn't vote or any of that because it
No.
was the day we voted.
Okay, so the day that we voted, that space of time, that was a chapter business part of the meeting. When we talk about volunteer opportunities and all, and there's and stuff, all that counts as CV chapter business, chapter meeting. That's volunteer time.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I didn't include that. 'Cause I didn't know.
Yeah.
But the other time I did,
And then the rest of the meetings, the speaker, always 18.
always 8.
Okay, and I think it's 18, Harvard chapter meeting. Good? So do y'all have any questions about hours or anything like that?
We don't have an app, right?